Hi, my name's Catherine Bryant and I am from England. I originate from London. Apprende inglés gratis con mentioningles.com y inglespodcast.com.
Hello and welcome to episode 71 of Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig. Craig, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Hello, one and all, and welcome to our award-winning podcast that we can now say we're award winners.
Indeed. How was the award ceremony in Manchester?
It was wonderful. Unfortunately, I missed you because you weren't there. You had to go and visit your family in Belfast, and I missed you. But it was a fantastic weekend. I met loads of podcasters, interesting people, made some very lovely friends and connections, and it was very educational. I learned a lot, and it was a fantastic trip. And it didn't rain.
It didn't rain in
Manchester? It didn't rain in Manchester.
Wow.
Well, it rained one day, but I was inside in the hotel at the conference, so didn't bother me. But we had 2 lovely sunny days. I'm walking around Manchester, which is a fantastic city. Very, very nice, friendly people, the Mancunians. And it was obviously a successful podcast because we brought home the award for Best Educational Podcast, which was an honour.
Craig, have you got any feedback there for us?
In this episode of Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig, we're going to answer some listener questions that we've received recently. Specifically, go and come, what's the difference, when to use them, a question about could and would, and some rules about reading English. Somebody asked us about las reglas para leer inglés, and we're going to speak about getting old. So before we jump into the content this month and answer your questions, a big thank you to Lara Arlem, who donated $3 per month to our Patreon program. So thank you very much, Lara, for your support.
Thank you, Lara.
Thank you. And we will be giving some news very soon about the transcriptions that you're asking for. Our first listener feedback comes from Rafael, who says, I'll read this in Spanish, muy interesante este capítulo de los false friends, los amigos falsos that we spoke about in episode 64. So if you go to inglespodcast.com/64, you can listen all about false friends. And Rafael says, ahora se me ocurre un false friend policy. That he says no es policía. So policy in English, what does that say to you, Reza? The word policy.
Yeah, policy is in Spanish, isn't it? Poliza?
It's polizas when you speak about an insurance policy. If you insure your house or your car or your life, then the insurance company give you like a contract that's an insurance policy. Mm-hmm. But it's also política or regla or norma.
Like the government policy on immigration is la política del gobierno.
Exactly. So well spotted there, Rafael, on that false friend. He continues, una duda que tengo desde que empecé a coger libros de inglés es si en el inglés no hay reglas fijas para leerlo, como se le haría una palabra que la ves escrita por primera vez y que no la has oído pronunciar con anterioridad. Es lo que nos pasa a los españoles cuando cogemos un libro en inglés, que no sabemos cómo pronunciar muchas palabras del libro. That's a problem, isn't it?
It is, and you're quite right. There are no fixed 100% rules which are always true. There are general guidelines. There are certain combinations of letters which tend to be pronounced a certain way, but there are many, many exceptions.
It's difficult, isn't it, when you're reading a word and you don't know how to say it in English. Words that come to mind, like brought or thought or plough or through, and they're so difficult with their silent letters. But one suggestion, Raphael, is that you learn the phonemic script, because if you look in a good dictionary, you're going to see the pronunciation in script, and that will tell you exactly how to say the word.
Phonemic script, for those of you who aren't sure what we mean, it's those strange symbols which look a bit like letters, but they're not quite letters, which appear in dictionaries after the word. So you'll see the word in English and in normal letters, and then you'll see after it inside diagonal parallel lines something that looks like letters, but they're kind of weird, strange letters. They're not quite normal letters, or some of them look normal, some of them don't. Those are phonemic symbols, and they tell you the pronunciation.
And you'll also see a little mark that will tell you the stress. So if you have a word like vegetables or comfortable, you know where to place the stress on the word. So it's also very useful.
And those two words, it's the first syllable, vegetable, and comfortable. So that will be marked also.
Exactly. So if you want to learn the symbols of the phonemic script, Raphael or anyone listening, on our webpage mencioningles.com, the intermediate course has lessons throughout the course in which I explain the sound, and you can hear me pronounce the sound of every symbol in the phonemic charts. So you can learn them free on mentioningles.com. Then you go to the dictionary, you'll know exactly how to say the word. Do you agree that that's one way to solve the problem?
Yes, although you have to be patient, because you're not going to learn the phonetic symbols overnight. It takes time. It's kind of like learning a new language in a way, a little mini language. So be patient. It will take time to become familiar with them. But if you learn to understand all those symbols, well, eventually you will know always how to pronounce any new word.
Yeah. So thank you for your question, Raphael. And Raphael finishes his email with: Si me olvidaba una última cosa, Reza sabe un montón de español.
Ah, sí?
Yeah.
Oh, gracias.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I agree with you, Raphael.
You're too kind.
Now we have a voice message from Javier Trimin from Barcelona, who's our friend living in Fort William, Scotland. So here's Javier.
Hello again. Hello, Reza. Hello, Craig. Hello, everyone who's listening to this podcast. The topic, because of my English. And I would say, because of my English, I changed many parts of my life. I've learned it more than just a language. Here, studying the language in Fort William, being abroad and learning a new language, I've gotten hundreds of headaches, for sure. And also I've met hundreds of people, and I've enjoyed thousands of incredible experience. With these words, I'd like to encourage everyone who is studying English to keep doing it and to carry on, because sooner or later it will reward you. So keep doing is my tip. The last thing I would like to say is thank you to all the people who have been helping me, especially my manager here in Fort William, who I've asked thousands of questions. She knows what I'm speaking. And thank you to Anna, my best friend from Barcelona, who has always been there to support me through my bad moments. And of course, to Craig and Reza, two great teachers who have been very helpful in improving my English. And well, I think this is my little story, and I just wanted to say that they for me are the business, and that's all. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Javi. It's lovely that you sent us the message.
Your English is very, very, very good.
It is.
Just a couple of tiny little things, though, we'd like to comment on. Craig, did you notice anything?
Yeah, the preposition with surround. I think Javi said surrounded on. No, surrounded of. The correct preposition should be surrounded by. So you're in Fort William, surrounded by English speakers.
Yeah, surrounded by native speakers. Yeah, and your pronunciation wasn't so good of the word native. The vowel sound, native, not na, nay, native.
So the sound is A, like my name, Craig, or name, native speakers.
And there was one other little thing. You said every time, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember now, but every time? No, all the time. If something is happening often every day or many, many, many times repeated, we say all the time. Not every time. It's not the same. All the time is sin parar or continuamente, and every time is cada vez. So it's not the same.
Right. So thank you for that, Javi. It was really nice to hear from you. Our next piece of feedback is from my good friend Claudia from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Now, Claudia, I've met online because we had a Google Hangout just during the summer, and she came on Google Hangouts. She actually escaped from her job. She was supposed to be working, and she...
Craig, I hope you're not going to get her the sack. You're not going to get her fired. Make her lose her job.
I hope her boss isn't listening to this, but she's a lovely lady, and she connected onto the Hangout, and we spoke for a while. And Claudia says, "Hello, how are you? I've been listening to you for the last 3 months. I had a hangout with Craig once. I really like the way you introduce the different subjects, develop and explain them. I'm 57 years old. I learned English at school. As you can see, it passed some time since I left school."
Does she mean some time has passed since I left school?
Yeah, or maybe it's been a long time since. It's been a long time since I left school. I would like to ask you when the word come must be used. For example, I am coming to your home, or I am going to your home.
That's a good question.
What do you think, Reza?
It's a tricky question. There are times when either word seems okay.
But isn't come venir and go is ir?
Yes, yeah. But I would say in Spanish, people sometimes mix up venir and ir. Sometimes it doesn't really matter, but sometimes it does.
Like, I'm going to the party tonight. Are you coming?
Yeah.
Or are you going? Well,
why not? Are you going?
Because it will be, are you coming with me? Perhaps.
Yeah, but it could be, are you going?
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of ambiguity.
So sometimes they're interchangeable. But if you remember, usually come is venir and go is ir.
Yep.
Then you'd use it similarly in English as in Spanish. There's one more point, that come is also sometimes llegar or arrive. So you'd say, what time are they coming? Okay. Would be a que hora llegan, what time are they arriving?
Yeah.
It's another use.
Also, I would say that if you want to indicate that people are coming here to where you are, to where you're talking, you must say come. You can't say go. For example, I'm waiting in my house for Paul. I wonder what time he's going to come here. You absolutely cannot say go.
Exactly.
Because if it's coming to here, it's always come.
And another use, you could say, how did you come to be an accountant? ¿Cómo llegaste a ser un contable, Reza?
Right.
Or Reza, how did you come to be a teacher?
I'll answer that.
It's a serious question.
Yeah, I wanted to teach English as a foreign language to see a little bit of the world.
And you have fulfilled that aim. You've done it.
Certainly have, yeah.
You've seen a lot of the world.
And I realized I quite enjoyed it, so I've kept on doing it.
I decided to become a teacher for the same reason. Another point, that go can mean become when it's used with an adjective. I think I'm going crazy. I think I'm going mad.
Yeah. You can't use come for that.
Estoy volviendo loco. Yeah.
Yes, that's quite different to Spanish, isn't it? They say estoy volviendo. But in English, I'm going crazy. Not go back, not come back. just
right.
Go. But in Spanish, you say volver, which of course can also be translated as go back or come back in English in other circumstances. For example, when I When I came back to my house after the holiday, it was very cold. Cuando volví, come back. So volver is a difficult word for us to translate from Spanish, you know.
Yep. Reza, do you mind if I tell our listeners about something we like?
Go ahead, Craig.
Of course, it's italki.com. italki is an internet website where you can find a personal one-to-one teacher at very low cost. Why one-to-one? Well, there's that human connection with a real teacher. No software programs, no apps on your phone. It's a one-to-one class. And Reza, why do your students like one-to-one classes? Because you teach one-to-one sometimes.
Because it's the most personalized way to improve your English.
Yeah, it's very effective. You get a lot of talking time with your teacher, a lot of practice to improve your fluency. And you need to find the right teacher, but you can change your teacher until you find a teacher you feel comfortable with, until you find the right teacher for you. And italki are offering a special deal to our listeners, 100 free italki credits, which are called ITCs on their website. So when you sign up for their paid service, you get basically one free lesson. How do you find it? Go to inglespodcast.com/italki, ITALKI. Reza and I want to thank italki for sponsoring Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig. We have another question here, Reza. I don't have the name of the person who sent us this, but the question is, would you mind helping me with this? From Inglés Podcast /40, episode 40, where we spoke about could and would. And the question is, could is related to can. Could is the past of can and the conditional. Do you remember that episode, Reza?
I do.
Speaking about can and could. And we use the following examples. I could see him. Yo podía verlo for the past.
For the past, yes.
And I could see him. Yo podría verlo for the conditional.
Right.
And the listener says, podía is not exactly the past of the verb poder in Spanish. It is the pretérito imperfecto. The past of the verb poder in Spanish is pude.
Right.
Which is true, right?
That's true, yeah.
So maybe we didn't make that clear enough.
Yeah. Well, they're not directly translatable, I don't think, because pretérito imperfecto, that doesn't exist in English. We have different ways of looking at the past in English and Spanish. Yeah.
And the listener says, my English teacher told me that it's not common to use could to express or convey an action in the past. I don't necessarily agree with that person's English teacher because
not at all.
No.
When I was a child, I could run really fast.
But I can't. But I can't now.
That's a very common sentence.
It is. Yeah. So no, we don't agree with our English teacher. So what we said in that episode is still true, that you can use could for ability in the past. I could swim when I was younger, but now I can't. Or I could speak French when I was at school, and now I can't.
Oh, you know what, Craig?
What?
I think I know where the confusion is. Mm-hmm. Could certainly is used to talk about the past, but here's the thing. Could, the positive, as I said, when I was a child, I could run really fast, but now I can't. Could, that's general ability. Mm-hmm. However, when you're talking about a specific situation, not general ability, then could is not possible. I'll give you an example. I fell from a great height and broke my leg, but I was able to get up. Not I could get up. I was able to get up. Could wouldn't be correct there because it's not a general ability, it's a specific situation, and could is only for general ability in the past.
So you have to use what was able when it's just one particular.
Well, that's half the story. It's very complicated when it's positive, but when it's negative, You can use couldn't in both circumstances. Couldn't, could not, can be general ability or specific situation.
So
For
you could
example,
say, I broke my leg and I couldn't get up.
that's possible. I wasn't able to. Or for general ability, when I was a child, I couldn't play the piano, but now I can. So it's really quite tricky. Maybe that's what they're referring to. But
Possibly.
could is certainly used for past general ability.
Anyway, I hope that's clarified the doubt with could in the past. One thing that I want to announce here on the podcast is that we now have an application. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can listen to our podcasts through the app. It's free and you can find it in the Apple Store. So that's the La Mención del Inglés iPhone or iPad app.
That's very good news, but not for me because I have an Android. Is there not an Android app?
There is an Android app that you can use to listen to podcasts. It's not created by us. It's called Stitcher. And you can find a link to Stitcher on the homepage at inglespodcast.com. You'll see a Stitcher button on the right side of the homepage. And it's a free app. You can download it to your phone and listen to podcasts, including Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig, through the Stitcher app for Android phones.
The reason why I don't have an iPhone, Craig, is because I can't afford it. Because I don't make enough money because I spend all my time making podcasts and don't charge people for them. So I don't have any money. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you mean.
So I'm very happy for our listeners who can afford an iPhone, but I can't. I've just got to use an old Android.
If you are lucky enough to have an iPhone, you can listen to us through our iPhone app. Our friend Elisa from Finland. Do you remember Elisa? Hi.
Oh, I certainly do.
Hi,
Hiya.
Elisa. She says, she speaks about the phrase, I'm getting old. She wants us to speak about getting old. She says, when does it start and when does it stop? When do you start getting old? Are there any advantages in getting old? She says, definitely not. When do you start? Do you feel old?
I began to feel old quite suddenly.
Really?
Suddenly, about a month ago or 3 weeks ago. Let me explain. I was at the optician's having my eyes tested.
It's always a sign.
Yeah, well, I've never had a big problem with it before, but this time, horror. The optician said to me, yes, maybe not yet, but very soon in the future, you're going to need bifocal glasses.
Bifocal glasses,
Yes.
the glasses that have like long-sighted and short-sighted mixed and half and half.
Exactly. Up until now, listeners, I wear glasses because I'm short-sighted. I have myopia. I'm short-sighted. So I need glasses to see things far away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But now, because I'm getting old, I'm having difficulty reading things close up, which I never did before.
Do you have to take your glasses off to read them?
Sometimes I've discovered that I've been taking them off or holding books further away from me.
So these new glasses that you've got that you're wearing now...
No, not yet.
But you have new glasses.
Yes, but they are not bifocals. But
they're very nice, by the way.
Thank you. The optician said to me, maybe not yet, but probably the next time I see you, you'll need bifocals. We'll let you struggle for a year or two until you get used to the idea, and then you'll be convinced that you'll need bifocals. So you'll need glasses for two purposes, to see close up and far away. And she said, you know what that means? And I said, what she means? Your eyes are just getting old. And I said, but I'm only in my early 40s. And she said, yeah, that's when it happens. That's when your eyes get old.
That's definitely a sign.
So I am officially, clinically old.
I started feeling that I was getting old when I disliked modern pop music or when I didn't know my students were talking about musicians and pop stars and groups that I'd never heard of. And when I listened to them after, I thought, this is rubbish. This music's terrible. And I kind of realized that I sounded like my dad. And sometimes I walk into the bathroom with the dirty dinner plates in my hands, and I forget why I've got the dirty dinner plates and why I've... If you go into a room and you forget why you're there, that's sometimes when I feel like I'm getting old. Are there any advantages of getting old?
I think your confidence increases. Or maybe you just don't care about many things as much as you used to, in a good way. I mean, for me, my appearance and other things, I'm not so bothered about other people's criticisms now. 20 years ago, I would have been a lot more troubled. Now I don't care.
I agree with that. And also I think appreciating life's small pleasures and having like a wisdom of when you get old, you kind of look at life in a different way, which is very mellow and very, very nice and very... I don't feel so nervous and so uptight and so anxious as I did when I was younger. So I think that's one of the few advantages of getting old. But thank you very much for your question, Elisa. On next week's episode of Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig, we have some more questions from you. So thank you for all your questions that you've been sending us during the summer. And if you would like to send us a question or a comment, you can go to inglespodcast.com and reach us by email or by voice message. And we love to hear your voice messages. So practice your speaking and send us a message. You can write to Reza directly at belfastreza@gmail.com. And thank you very much for listening. So until next time, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.